Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including another huge round of price increases, new Cybertruck footage, Tesla's new R&D center in China, cloud profiles, and more. So let's get into it, and a special thanks to Masterworks for sponsoring this video. First up today, as unveiled at Tesla's Battery Day, Tesla is planning their own battery manufacturing facilities to make their new 4680 battery cells. At the same time, however, Tesla is well aware of how much demand is growing for their cars and EVs in general, so they have plans to continue using suppliers for older battery cells and their new design. Back in June, it was reported from Panasonic's CEO that Panasonic, quote, is working to set up a prototype production line to test 4680 batteries, a next-generation lithium-ion cell touted as the key to unlocking cheaper and more ubiquitous EVs. If Panasonic looks to be capable of churning out better performing cells more efficiently than rivals, it will make a, quote, large investment in their production, according to Kusami. Panasonic will seek to supply them to Tesla as well as other automakers. Now, just yesterday, Panasonic unveiled their new 4680 cell built for Tesla that they plan to start test production of early next year. They officially unveiled photos of their new gigantic 4680 cells, and word from the head of Panasonic's battery unit said, quote, the new cell has 5 times the capacity of smaller previous models. He said the battery was developed in line with Tesla's needs and Panasonic planned to supply it to Tesla, but he declined to give details. Other manufacturers like Samsung have noted their plans to make 4680 battery cells for Tesla as well, but this is the first prototype we've seen from anyone outside of Tesla. What's so interesting is that none of Tesla's current cars actually use these cells, and they are still in the testing phase, but once they come to be, they should have a huge impact on future electric vehicles. The most recent update on 4680 production and utilization from Tesla came on their Q3 earnings call, saying, quote, the 4680 in-house cell project continues to progress. We are producing an increasing number of battery packs for testing purposes, and so far, the test results meet our current expectations. Front and rear body castings, both needed for our structural battery pack architecture, are being produced at Gigafactory, Texas. As I mentioned in my last video, it's great to hear that these cells are indeed meeting Tesla's expectations, but there is a lot to prove here, and it's exciting that Panasonic should be moving past a prototype stage soon. Next up today, a brief update about Tesla's full self-driving beta. Tesla rolled out version 10.2 to a new group of testers with a safety score of 100 out of 100. Then they plan to push version 10.3 to a new group of testers with a safety score of 99 out of 100 around 2 weeks after 10.2, but ran into some issues. Initially, Elon Musk said beta 10.3 releasing Friday next week to all cars with 99 out of 100 safety score, but a day after it should have come out, he said, quote, regression in some left turns at traffic lights found by internal QA in 10.3. Fix in work, probably releasing tomorrow. They did release it, but ended up pulling it from users, which briefly pulled the entire FSD Beta from some users' cars who have had it for a while. Elon said, quote, seeing some issues with 10.3, so rolling back to 10.2 temporarily. Please note, this is to be expected with beta software. It is impossible to test all hardware configs in all conditions with internal QA, hence public beta. And then a few hours later, they pushed a fix with 10.3.1 rolling out now. As we're seeing here, and as Elon reiterated, it's important to remember that this is beta software and not a final delivery. After this went out, Elon followed up to say sorry to Tesla beta users for the trouble. Issue turned out to be power saving mode interacting with FSD. Our internal QA fleet didn't see this because cars are constantly in use, so very rarely enter power saving mode. Internal QA will obviously test this case going forward. I'd like to express appreciation to Tesla Autopilot Engineering and QA for working around the clock all weekend to resolve the problem. Tesla should have all beta cars back to normal soon and on a new version soon. It shows how quickly Tesla can fix issues and push new software versions, and reminds us that this is still very much a work in progress. Next up today, as Tesla has been doing consistently for the last year, they just increased prices yet again. This time it was across their entire lineup, so that their cheapest car, the Standard Range Plus Model 3, now starts at $44,000. That particular increase and the insane delivery timelines of June 2022 feels like Tesla is trying to push customers to buy a long range instead, since it now comes in only $6,000 more as opposed to $10,000 more in the past. The Model Y, however, also rose by $2,000, now starting at a whopping $57,000. If we look back to the order page around a year ago, it was selling for $50,000, so that's a huge increase with no real change to the car itself. Then the starting prices of the Model S and X rose again after raising $10,000 just a couple months ago. Each car went up by $5,000 this time, with the Model S long range starting at $95,000 and Model X long range starting at $105,000. The Plaid models of each stayed at the same price. Tesla's ultimate goal is to get electric vehicles cheaper and cheaper. So what is going on here? Well, there's a lot going on that is clear and a lot to speculate on. First, supply chain issues are hitting the entire industry. Chip shortages are what we hear about most, and to solve chip shortages, companies like Tesla are having to pay more to secure supply of them. Then general supply shortages, port congestion, and more are causing prices to increase on materials and parts used in these cars. Tesla actually isn't the only one increasing their prices, they're just one of the only companies that sells direct to customers, so you clearly see the exact price tag on their website. Another big factor is the upcoming tax credit that is lingering for passing potentially by the end of the year. There have been various objections to this plan and changes to proposed numbers, but many are expecting a direct credit on EV purchases of anywhere from $4,500 to $12,500. It's unclear what will end up happening with this plan, but Tesla's delivery dates are so far out that they may be pricing for when this passes. I mentioned that the standard range Model 3 won't come until June, and the Model Y won't come until May, according to Tesla's website. So by the time you are taking delivery, if you order today, you are locking in a high price that will be brought down significantly if a federal EV incentive passes. Tesla is likely pre-raising prices, since come May or June, these prices might make a lot more sense with supply chain issues as well as these incentives. At the end of the day, people are buying Teslas regardless of the price, and Tesla only has their current production capacity. With these backed up delivery times, they are sold out for months, so raising prices is something they need to do, but also can do all around at the current moment. I do not see any reason why prices would drop in the near future. If anything, we're just going to see prices raise further and delivery timelines get further and further out, like we have for the past year consistently. So again, if you're looking to buy a Tesla in the near future, it's going to be a good idea to buy now, put that order in, and see what the future holds for incentives, supply issues, demand, and more. If you're willing to wait a long time, it does seem like a few years from now, everything will come down in price, but if you're looking to buy now, again, buy now. While the price increase didn't coincide perfectly with this announcement, there is a huge piece of news for Tesla that could affect demand and pricing in the future. Hertz purchasing 100,000 Teslas to add to their vehicle fleets, and we'll get there in just a second. What comes as a surprise to many is that the global art market is a $6 trillion industry. For example, this is Yusaka Maezawa, who recently purchased a painting by Jean-Michel Basquiat for $110 million. Believe it or not, this painting was originally purchased for $20,000 in 1984. With returns like this is what leads billionaires to spend millions on art, and now Masterworks lets people like me and you invest in the best works by Banksy and Basquiat as easily as buying stocks. From 1995 to 2020, contemporary art prices have actually outpaced the S&P by 174%, and art has the lowest correlation to the stock market of any major asset class. Setting up with Masterworks takes just a few clicks. You visit their website, create an account, browse their artwork, and invest in any of the current offerings. From there, you hold your shares until Masterworks sells, or sell your shares on their secondary market. In 2020, investors received a 32% net return from their sale of Banksy's Mona Lisa, which is very impressive. To check out Masterworks for yourself, click the link in the description below and start investing. Just yesterday, Hertz made a huge announcement that is extremely validating for electric vehicles and Tesla. Hertz announced their all-new EV fleet with the largest purchase of EVs ever, 100,000 Teslas. This will represent about $4.2 billion of revenue for Tesla, and that is Hertz paying list prices and not getting a discount like they typically do from automakers. Tesla doesn't discount, and they're not making an exception here, so Hertz is finally biting the bullet and moving into the future. Quote, the electrification plan, which eventually will encompass almost all of Hertz's 500,000 cars and trucks worldwide, is the company's first big initiative since emerging from bankruptcy in June. And it signals that Hertz's new owners are intent on shaking up an industry dominated by a handful of large players who are typically slow to change. Hertz launched a new campaign with Tom Brady to tout their new electric fleet, and for now it appears that it will include all Model 3s. For charging, Hertz said, quote, with the current order, EVs will comprise more than 20% of Hertz's global fleet, and is expected to be supported by a combination of Level 2 and DC fast charging in approximately 65 markets by the end of 2022, and more than 100 markets by the end of 2023. Now, Hertz is a company that actually filed for bankruptcy in 2020, as I mentioned, so why would this really matter going forward? Well, up until now, it wasn't really possible to rent a Tesla consistently from a rental company. If you wanted one, you had to get a select handful from Enterprise or possibly Hertz, or rent directly on Turo. Many prefer using Turo, but at the end of the day, many people will want to use a big name like Hertz for the ease of that whole process. So now all the customers who prefer a big name rental company will see a Tesla as an option, and Hertz plans to make this an easy, educational experience about electric vehicles. Another aspect that will certainly be interesting is that when a vehicle is in service, a service center will often use a rental company to provide a loaner to a customer. It seems highly likely that when someone puts their gasoline vehicle in service, they'll have the option to rent a Tesla from Hertz and get to see what all of the fuss is about. It's really just a huge win for Tesla, and the market seems to agree. Yesterday, after this announcement, Tesla's stock hit an all-time high, getting up over $1,000 a share and causing Tesla's market cap to pass over $1 trillion. In response to this, Ross Gerber tweeted saying, quote, "Wow, what a way to start the week. Tesla gets an order for 100,000 cars from Hertz. Huge move and super smart. Rentals in huge demand and going green. The rental fleets need replenishment, stoked." To which Elon responded, quote, "Strange that moved valuation, as Tesla is very much a production ramp problem, not a demand problem." What we've been seeing consistently is that people think Tesla won't succeed because people won't want to buy them. But Elon Musk is keenly aware that they have no issue of customers wanting to buy their cars. Right now, they can't make enough, and their real issue is scaling up production and building new factories and battery cell manufacturing factories to build the cars people want. That Hertz news, though, could be something that ultimately drives Tesla's prices even higher. That's 100,000 more vehicles that they need to make, and when those get delivered, that's a huge fleet of vehicles for people to experience and possibly decide to purchase. Overall, it's nothing but great news for Tesla, and it's very validating for electric vehicles going forward, regardless of what you think about Hertz. Next up today, some new Cybertruck footage was spotted at a Tesla service center, and it gives a nice preview of what off-roading will look like in the Cybertruck. This appears to be the original prototype, and this very well could be footage that Tesla took a long time ago, but it includes footage from Giga Texas, off-road, on-road, and in a field. It's interesting that this hasn't been officially released by Tesla, but anytime there's even a hint of new information about the Cybertruck, it's exciting to many people. The functionality of this truck will ultimately be what causes it to sell or not, since the design is pretty wild and the specs are promising a lot. If they deliver on those specs, it will really come down to how it rides and how it compares as a true truck to something like the new Rivian R1T, which has received many positive reviews. The Rivian R1T is the first electric truck to market, with Rivian recently confirming first deliveries, but they also confirmed that those trucks are being made very slowly. In a recent SEC filing, Rivian said, quote, "In the consumer market, we launched the R1 platform with our first generation consumer vehicle, the R1T, a 2-row, 5-passenger pickup truck, and began making customer deliveries in September 2021. As of September 30th, 2021, we produced 12 R1Ts and delivered 11 R1Ts, and as of October 22nd, 2021, we produced 56 R1Ts and delivered 42 R1Ts. They are taking their time ramping up production here, and while nobody expects thousands of vehicles made right away from a new company, that's a very slow production rate. People have calculated that they're making less than 2 trucks per day. In response to this, Elon Musk tweeted saying, quote, "Prototypes are trivial compared to scaling production and supply chain. If those are solved, achieving positive gross margin is the next nightmare. Starting a second new vehicle line before first is working will divide resources and amplify probability of failure." Then he followed that up, responding to someone thanking him for the advice to say, quote, "Indeed, this is intended to be useful advice based on my extremely painful experience, not an attack in any way." Tesla has experienced scaling, so while the Rivian R1T has launched first, it seems that even in a year when the Cybertruck hopefully launches, they could achieve a high production rate much faster than Rivian. We'll see what the future holds, but the future of electric trucks is definitely exciting, and it's always great to see any new footage of the crazy Cybertruck in the wild. Next up today, Tesla China has officially announced that they completed their research and development center in their Gigafactory Shanghai complex. This is where Tesla is expected to develop products like their future 24 $25,000 electric vehicle, and more. Quote, the Shanghai R&D Innovation Center is Tesla's first overseas R&D center based on vehicle development, including software, hardware, electronics, materials, power, and energy engineering teams. In the future, Tesla's Shanghai R&D and Innovation Center will carry out more original development work around complete vehicles, charging equipment, and energy products, and develop into a comprehensive R&D center on the same scale as the US R&D Center. As noted by Teslarati as well, the Tesla bot was included in the highlighted products that the VP of Vehicle Engineering mentioned when talking about this R&D center, so they are expected to work on that future product there as well. Last up today, a new Tesla feature that has been mentioned in the past has been confirmed to be coming soon by Elon Musk. When you enter a Tesla, your driver profile remembers your seating adjustments, driver preferences, mirror adjustments, and just about everything so that you can just get in and drive. This is great for multiple drivers, but when renting a Tesla or borrowing one, you of course have to adjust and create a new profile since they are only saved locally to the car. Tesla has hinted at the idea of a cloud profile that stores on a server and can be accessed by logging into any Tesla. After the Hertz announcement, when someone suggested an automatic profile adjustment when renting from Hertz, Elon Musk said, quote, that feature is coming. That gives no real timeline, and Elon's tweets tend to talk about features that are still a ways off, but it's an exciting one for sure. In the future, as a Tesla owner, you should be able to go to a different state, rent a Tesla, and then feel right at home with your settings in place instantly. To this, Hertz said, quote, this is just the beginning, let's go. It's an exciting time for Tesla as they are really facing the issue of making enough cars, since it feels like everybody wants them. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see the latest on a new version of the Model 3 coming soon, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.